So moved.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion. Thank you. All right, the next item of business is under old business, pickleball trial effort, and Commissioner Barbas is going to speak to that, and he's here.
Sorry. Okay, you have to mute yourself.
I am muted, that's the thing.
No, but on your computer, on the keyboard. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry about that. So we did have a presentation from some residents who wanted to start a pickleball organization. And we did listen to that, and they made a pitch, and they had done some research, and they identified a site. They had some budgeting, and they talked to the public about it and gave us a kind of a whole possibility of what could be done at a site at Bailey Beach. We are working on a big drainage project at Bailey Beach right now, and it's a little early for us to proceed to look into that as an option or not. And so the commissioners had an idea. It was really driven by our chair, Tammy Lingaus, that we could do a trial. And no one's commuting. We have less than 50 cars in our 300 space lot parking every day using Metro North, that we could section off part of the train station parking lot as a place to do a trial, see how much interest there is, how much it's used, find out what some of the pros and cons, problems, issues, but really more give it an experiment, give it a trial run. So the resident who would kind of quarterback this effort, Drew Seath, I have been in touch with, and he is organizing, and he's had a ton of interest from people before. And
sorry for being late.
Presentation that was made 2 months ago. And he is going to he's organizing so that there will be something along the lines of Rowayton Pickleball Association, like the RTA, Rowayton Tennis Association, RPTA, Rowayton Paddle Tennis Association. And these members can join this association, contribute funds, and they'll buy nets and material needed to make the lines, potentially some temporary fencing. And we're going to see how this goes, and they could use a guard shack to store some of their materials if need be, or maybe they could be left out. We're going to figure it out. I think the current commission of the 6th Taxing District have always been very open to trying things out, making experiments and seeing how they work and what the level of interest. If you remember, a number of years ago, we experimented with putting an ice rink down at Bailey Beach so people could play hockey and skate. That was a failure. It wasn't very cooperative winter weather-wise. We hadn't really figured out the impact of the sand. And we had people, when we were trying to set the ice, and we put signage saying, don't go on the ice, went on the ice and ruined it. So in the end, it was just beyond our ability to manage, and it was really the wrong site. And so as a result, an attempt of having a Rowayton skating rink, or whatever you want to call it, hockey rink at Bailey Beach did not succeed. But so we're gonna give pickleball, I think, our best shot. Drew's on the call right now. Drew, I think you maybe want to make a couple comments for people who were interested, how to reach you, how to join, and kind of explain how you're planning to go forward.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry for being a couple of minutes late, Mike.
Oh,
You guys are fast.
you know what, Drew, we can't hear you. Oh, Tammy, you have to unmute yourself. Or no, me. No, I'm not muted. I don't know why, Drew. Why can't we hear you? You're unmuted. Turn up your volume.
I can hear him.
No.
Can you hear me, Andy?
Oh, now I can. Sorry, I didn't
Okay.
have the volume up here. Please go
Hi,
ahead,
Mike.
Drew.
Sorry for being late. You guys are very prompt. I'm very impressed. And I'm sorry for being late. I was so happy to hear that you guys are open to doing this. I've had a group of people that have been talking to me since we first approached you guys last summer, and I've pulled that group together. And the nice thing is it's got a nice cross section of people in different parts of the community. The goal is to basically map what the the RTA and the RPTA have done, and build a Rowayton Pickle Club, and use this opportunity, the railroad, to prove that there is, hopefully we're right, that there is in fact a lot of demand for pickleball in Rowayton. And I've started work on this already, and I'm excited to get started. And my hope is that it's not a sport that, like tennis, you have to just play in the summer. I don't know that you'd want to play in the middle of the winter, but my hope is that sometime March, April, something was the weather starts to get a little bit warmer, we can have things set up and have people start playing. And my thinking is that we'll have a reservation system similar to what the RPTA and the WTA have, so people can know in advance when they go out there that they will be able to play. It'll be open to anyone in Rowayton that wants to play, and we'll just try to set the cost as low as we possibly can.
That's great. And for people who want to join, what's the process?
So I'm gonna, you suggested that I set up an email address, which I did not have time to do today. My plan is to, in the next week or so, I was also waiting for the formal thumbs up from you all tonight, hopefully, that I would set up, probably an email address and a web page that people can, register and say, hey, I'm interested in, keep me apprised of what's going on. I'd love if the 6th Taxing District could support this with their marketing efforts as well. I talked to Andy Meyerson about, his help from a marketing standpoint too.
That sounds great. No, I think as we talked about, Drew, once you're ready, we will definitely put something out in our email blast system so that people who are interested can be part of that effort and can start playing.
Great, it's so exciting. I think
Rowayton train station.
Pickleball is the fastest growing sport in the U.S. And so I think it's a great opportunity for Rowayton to, have a sport. And I think one of the advantages is that it can be both very competitive and it can be very easy to play as well. It's actually played in a lot of elementary school gym classes even.
Cool. Okay, well, that sounds great.
Really appreciate the commissioner's support on this.
You're very welcome. And this is not on the agenda, but I will just mention we are, and I don't know, I see Ryan's on this call. We have been in discussions with Rowayton Paddle Tennis Association. They really want to expand, and we've been looking into trying to figure out a way to, since the community center property is kind of tight, to maybe build a couple courts across at our neighbor at Rowayton School on one of the tennis courts, which are not in very good shape. And there are a lot of issues associated with this, but I think we're all trying to think out of the box and see if we can come up with a possibility, come up with a plan. At this point, Rowayton School, I think, is becoming more and more supportive. Their gym teacher wants to teach the kids paddle. Bill Pank, who coaches at our paddle courts, would be willing to work over there as well. So, stay tuned, but we are making some progress there. And some people have said, well, if that works out, maybe they should have pickleball on the other tennis court. So who knows, Drew, what you've started here.
Love it.
But that's on that topic. But anyway, thank you for that. And I guess everyone stay tuned, but there should be something going on at the train station sooner rather than later.
Hey, Mike, one other thing, I've talked to Paul McNulty, who's the WTA tennis pro, RTA, I keep saying WTA, don't ask me why I do that. The RTA tennis pro, and we've talked about, asking him to help spearhead some launch day where, everybody in the community would be invited to come out and play, obviously in a very socially distanced, responsible kind of way, but give people a chance to come out and try it as we, first launch this thing.
Cool. Okay.
Why don't you just go on to Amber?
Thank you. So the next topic, which I'm going to be speaking on, is the Amber Municipal Parking Lot. So if you are in downtown Rowayton, there is the shopping center with sales and the bank and the post office. All that property is owned privately, as is all the parking around that property. So while many of us, when we go shop at Rowayton Market or go to the Art Center, go to different places in downtown, We park in that lot. We think of it as a public lot, but it actually is not. It is private property. But way in the back, coming off Wilson Avenue, is a parking lot with 43 spaces. And that land is owned by the 6th Taxing District. And when you see the signs, Ambler Municipal Parking Lot, that's what they're referring to. As we filled those empty storefronts downtown, and as more and more activity starts returning to downtown, we're going to have a parking problem. We saw that in the summer of 2019, and we know it's a matter of time. And in summer 2019, those storefronts were just getting going. Post COVID-19, all of that will be in full steam ahead. So we know parking's a challenge, and we have been talking about expanding our parking lot. So we've been working on that, and it's a little tricky because in the woods adjoining our parking lot, there are wetlands and there's what's called a vernal pond. But we have been working with our engineers, we've been working with our council, and we have been working with Norwalk's Planning and Zoning Department, as well as Norwalk's Conservation Commission. We have the rough workings of a plan that is under preliminary review. We've also been talking to our neighbor who owns the private property next door, 140 Rowayton Avenue Associates, because our lot only has an entrance. We spend some money to have an easement over that property next door, so people can leave the parking lot. Under our proposed plan, which I showed a couple meetings back, we will have our own entrance and exit, and we will add a number of spaces. We were originally hoping to add 20 spaces, but with input from the Conservation Commission right now, we have reduced that to 16 spaces. And we'll see how it goes, but I just want everyone to kind of be aware that this was in the works, and it's a bigger project than it sounds, because we're going to be doing a lot of paving, obviously, curbing, landscaping, lighting to improve that parking lot, and to get, right now, as I said, it's got that weird entrance only, which some people use as an exit. We're going to try to, our goal is to fix all of that. So stay tuned for more updates. And this is just one of more that you will continue to be hearing. On Bailey Beach, our drainage project, which we've been working on for some time now, we've had some surprises. The problem there is the land is so flat. There is the workings of a drainage system, but that drainage system is, there's not enough grade for the drains to actually work. So we've been looking at that. There's also what we call the drainage ditch that runs along the edge of the property, along the last of Rowayton Avenue. That has gotten completely clogged with sediment, and it barely works anymore. Part of the problem is we put a new drain or a new valve at the end of that, where that drainage ditch goes under Pine Point Road and into Farm Creek. And as a result, very little salt water now gets in there, and the Phragmites have taken over. So if you've noticed, we've cleared the Phragmites now twice, and the amount of sediment that's in there is really a serious problem. The drainage does not work at all anymore. And if you recall, in the summer of 2019, when there was a ton of rain, there was huge flooding in that area, and standing water for days at a time, because the drainage system was completely non-functional. So we are also working with engineers and attorneys to come up with the right solution. We've had a couple setbacks, but we think we do have a plan now that we will submit to the state of Connecticut that will let us do some maintenance and potentially put in some more drainage and taking it away from that area, so that we don't have all the standing water when there's a lot of precipitation. And this will benefit Rowayton Little League and Rowayton Tennis in particular, because those two areas can really be lakes at certain times.
Okay. Then do you want to do the beach?
Yeah, and then I guess a little more on Bailey Beach. We did have a Zoom call last Monday to discuss what the future vision for Bailey Beach could look like. We had, I think, 25 participants. The trigger for all this is our longstanding beach director, Don Wilson, retired, and we're going to be hiring someone new. And to a certain extent, we're going to be having a fresh start. So we wanted to get input from residents to be like, what do you want to see in a beach director? Is this someone who's just in a maintenance position, or is this someone who's an activities director? And so we got a lot of input, and some of it was very kind of operational. We want more supervision of the lifeguards. The lifeguards run a little differently. And then some of it was also visionary, to have an activities director, have someone to plan certain events there, oversee events there. There was a lot of interest in seeing more activity from the concession stand. We had one gentleman there, Joe Gallo, for many, many years, and he quit a year ago. And a woman named Di started Di Sea Shanty, and she really was gearing up to really be up and running this 2020 summer, which obviously was a bit challenging, but she really rose to the occasion. I think she was really popular, but on the Zoom call we had, the biggest interest was people want her to serve breakfast. So she will be serving breakfast both on the weekends and during the week in the summer of 2021. That's the plan. So I think everyone on that call should be happier. And we will be soon posting the position for the beach director and what we expect. And we will go from there. I see Rob Pratt just made a comment, need a bike rack. We will look into that, of doing that. And there'll be, I think, more updates as we make progress hiring a beach director, and once they get started and develop a plan for the future.
Why don't you introduce the Rowayton Arts Center and let John speak to it?
Yeah, so the next piece of business we'd like to discuss is the Rowayton Arts Center. That's located at 145 Rowayton Avenue. And I'm going to turn the floor over to my colleague, fellow Commissioner John Igneri, because there's a development project that's going to be taking place next door.
As Mike said, there's a new development project. Unmute.
Yeah, he might be able to do it from my system.
Can you hear me now? The at 143 Rowayton Avenue, next to the Art Center, is a new project going in. They're going to build 4 condos. The condos will be very, very nice. Two are at like 4,500 square feet. 2 are 3,000 to 3,500 square feet. Parking is going to be underground, etc.
John, if you mute yourself and then just speak online, is the way to do it.
Okay. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. So the Art Center abuts this property, and we've been talking. We're in the early stages of conversations with the architect, Bruce Beinfeld, about improving the property line and maybe joining them in making a access path around the property. We've just gotten some landscaping plans, and we just got plans from the land tech about the seawall. We don't know where it's going. It's hard to predict at this point because the conversation's just started, but we're trying to beautify the Art Center, the outside of the Art Center. We'll stay tuned. We'll fill you in more as things develop.
Okay, so I'm going to unmute and we'll go on with the agenda.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. The next order on the agenda is the resolution of the Richardson Trust. Sorry for the feedback. How do we stop that feedback?
Am I speaking now?
Speaking to
All right, is that better? Or do people not hear me? I don't know if
Hold
people can hear
on.
me.
Go. Try now.
Okay, sorry for the feedback.
No. Anyway, we have been the fortunate recipients of an $8,000 grant given to the taxing district by the Grace Jones Richardson Trust and Lyman Richardson. The grant is to,
Hold on, Tammy.
okay,
You've got to mute yourself and speak over my computer.
She's good now.
Okay, go.
okay.
You're muted now, Tammy.
I think the secret is only one of you unmutes at a time. Tammy, we can't hear you.
Okay,
But I'm supposed to be
Yeah, but you
speaking
have to
on
be
Mike's
muted.
thing, I know.
I'm muted.
Tammy, unmute yours, and John and Mike mute yours. We're hearing feedback through theirs.
So Mike is muted right now.
Try talking, Tammy. I think you'll be fine.
No, she's muted too.
Just
Okay, sorry, it has to do with the three of us sitting in the same space. And the feedback, even though we all mute, just keeps coming through.
do that.
All right, this should be better now. Okay, so to start over again, the 6th Taxing District has been the fortunate recipient of a grant from the Grace Jones Richardson Trust, Rowayton resident Lyman Richardson, and I believe he is the grandson of B and Lump Richardson, who were longtime residents many years ago, and they lived on Indian Spring Road. And this donation has been given to us specifically for Bailey Beach for maintenance of tables and chairs, or the purchase of umbrellas, and also the floating docks. So I am going to make a motion that we accept this money. So the motion reads as follows. I, Chair Langalis, move to agree to the terms of the Grace Jones Richardson Trust to appropriate donated funds of $8,000 to the Bailey Beach operating account, and it's account number 6100. Do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Okay, we have 3 commissioners that approve. Now we're open to discussion or comments. Do the commissioners have comments? And then we'll open it up to the public.
No comments.
No comments.
Okay, no comments from the commissioners. We are very grateful for this donation, and we'll use it toward the upkeep of the items as stipulated. Would anybody in the audience like to make a comment? I see some things in the chat room. Let's see.
Oh my goodness.
Nope. Okay, very good then. Thank you. And then we'll move on to the next item on the agenda.
Which is the budget, just to say what the meeting is.
Right, okay. The 6th Taxing District Commissioners hold 2 public meetings with regard to the agenda, the budget for the following fiscal year. We held our first meeting on January 11th at 3:30, and the next meeting will be January 25th at 3:30. That's a Monday. We meet in the Moose Room, very socially distanced, far apart. The public is welcome. And then that budget will be finalized, and we have to convey our budget to the city of Norwalk. All right. The next item on the agenda are the commissioners' reports. And since I have the platform, I'll start just so we don't have all this feedback issue. I'd like to report that Scott Whiteman, who ran a camp for young children at Bailey Beach for over 20 years, has decided not to come back again this year. It's very difficult with the pandemic to predict whether he would be able to have the camp, and he felt that it was in the best interest of everybody to not do that. I'd like to thank Scott for being very loyal to the 6TD. A lot of not only children participated in the camp, but he employed many Rowayton teenagers over the years. And so thank you to Scott. We wish him all the best. The next, I would just like to report on the vote of the fence. We had a public election on the 13th of January, both in person and online. 641 people voted. There were two options. Option one received 438 votes, which was basically to leave the rules as they exist. Option two received 203 votes, and that was to allow the Black Lives banner sign up for another year. I'd like to thank all the people that participated in the vote, both in person and online. Then I will go to my other commissioners if they have any other reports.
I thought you maybe wanted to talk about the voting
Oh,
issue.
no, since nobody's here. Okay.
I'll just talk.
Commissioner Igneri.
Now, I'm unmuting here.
No, to speak on my
Just leave
computer.
that.
Okay. We're starting the budget process and we are looking at, this says unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. We're looking at Pinckney Park. And we're looking at possibly budgeting for a new sidewalk out front and completing the driveway halfway up to the circle. That may not get done in 21, 22, but may get done in 22, 23. But we're going to continue to improve the park. For this year, we have money set aside for additional plantings. You know, that big, beautiful cedar came down. We're thinking about creating that area and putting in some new plantings. So that's all I wanted to mention about Pinckney Park.
Great, thank you. All right, Mike.
Okay.
Okay. On my commissioner's report, obviously I covered a lot of ground already. What I did want to discuss was we did put money aside 2 years ago to protect a lot of these public pathways we have in town, you know, like between Covewood and Torrey Hill, from Pond Ridge down to Harstrom. There are a number of these pathways, and they're all have different histories and different levels of protection, or some of them are completely unprotected. One that some volunteers have been hard at work on connects Ridgewood to Indian Spring. It's quite steep, and there was a lot of poison ivy there, but 6 taxing district workers did clear out all the poison ivy, and we are looking at potentially putting some stairs in there. We've been working with the neighbors, and not we, these volunteers led by Rob Frazier, and we've been consulting with our general counsel, and we are creating, we're working on creating a kind of a permanent solution to that path, so that people can get back and forth through that connection. And I believe we're talking about doing an easement, and our attorney is working on this. And I think all 3 commissioners are in favor of this proceeding as our council recommends.
Okay, great. Anything else? If not, we'll go to the fire marshal. Or the district treasurer, so. Okay, then we'll go to the district treasurer's report, please.
Gil.
Thank you, Tammy.
You're welcome.
I've provided handouts to the commissioners and Andrea Woodworth, town clerk, to record. The handouts are the budget versus actual as of December 31st of 2020. Capital funds project balances report as of December 31st, 2020. The budget modification for the funds received from the Grace Jones Richardson Trust, as you've discussed already, and a report of bills paid for the following month. As always, I'm asking the commissioners to review the bills paid. And if you would like to sign the hard copy, if you're in the office, which I provided in the office for you, feel free to do that and leave it in the inbox. If you prefer,
and speak with it.
you can email me the review the budget.
You can't hear it.
We have made a budget modification for the funds received from the trust that you've already discussed. We did internally. And just a quick discussion, we covered a lot last month on the budget versus actual report for 2021. And our income is at 50% of budget income. And we talked a little last time about it being a little light because of the COVID functions. And our expenses are 56% of budget expenses, in line with. Our capital. Our
Ron
capital
needs to be
budget.
muted. No, on your computer.
I'm gonna mute Mike for a minute.
Okay.
Mike, why don't you go ahead and mute for a second? Okay, I'll try one more time.
Keep going, Gil.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just continue our reserves, as you guys have talked about. We have reserves in different accounts, and they're in line with projects, more or less. Can you hear me okay? And then,
Hear Gil? We can't hear him. You unmuted.
can you hear me now?
I second that.
Okay, well then, I thought if I put on headphones, my.
Les.
I can hear you, Gil. Mike has headphones plugged in, so they can't hear you
have to
anymore.
mute your systems and.
That's the problem. So I'll just finish up for the audience. We're wrapping up the work with the auditors on the annual audit budget, annual audit for 2019-2020. Just waiting for a couple things from the auditors, all set there more or less. And as mentioned, the budget draft has been completed. We've had our first meeting, and we'll have another meeting to go over that on the 25th. That concludes the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Gil.
Thank you.
All right. Could we please go to the district fire marshal and continue on to property manager? Ben?
Thank you, Tammy. Fire marshal report for December 2020.
I gotta try this F4 again.
The state has changed a little bit their Operation Save a Life because of the COVID pandemic from last year. So we are combining with Norwalk Fire Marshal to obtain a limited amount of detectors, CO detectors, and smoke detectors. I still have some left from some 10-year smoke detectors left. So if anybody is needing replacements, please get in touch with me. We are very close to switching to a new vendor for our fire incident and inspection reporting. That should be completed by the end of January. Also, the state is continuing with our online training. We haven't had not any in-person training since last April. Other than that, it's hopefully been quiet. We had a quiet Christmas, and that's my report. Property manager report for January. Jose and Luis, our two employees, have been splitting logs up at the center, and there is split wood available for residents to pick up. Jason has been meeting with the contractors to replace the greenhouse roof, in addition with the garden club. I think they met with one contractor, and their other estimates are going to be coming. I'm waiting to hear from Wendell Livingston for an update on the ship model case that was donated to the district. And that case is being built by Select Plastics in Norwalk. It's going to take 6 to 8 weeks. So it should be close to completion. At the community center, we had a fire alarm activation on the 12th of January. And the investigation revealed there was no fire, and it turned out it was a malfunction of the alarm system. The Bailey Beach dog owners are using the beach very regularly. I have started to close the beach at around dark, which is roughly 5:30. 5 o'clock is still a little early, even though the sign says 5 o'clock. So people have been using the beach in the weather. The fence at the tennis court has been replaced by the tennis people, their contractor. Pinckney Park, Gardner Gray has finished the repairs to the gazebo, and it turned out once we removed the decking, there was more structural work to be done other than just the decking. So The structure under the decking was replaced with pressure treated lumber, and it should last for a good number of years. And the art center, the stairs, Gardner Gray is also replacing the stairs on the south side of the building, which were in not in very good shape at all. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. All right, then could we have the district clerk, please? And Andrea, if this is too difficult for you, just edit it.
Can I talk to you?
No, talk to Mike. Yeah, and remember.
I really don't have much to report tonight, but one gentleman showed up at the vote thinking he was in our district, but apparently he's not, his name was not on the list, so we'll look into that. It's been very quiet at the district lately, except for the run-up to the election and the election itself. Unfortunately, there were several potential voters whose emails with ballots were returned. And as I said before, well, I think I can get those all resolved. Okay.
All right. Does anybody from the public have any comments or questions?
You can you can put your hand up or put something in the chat if you do. Otherwise, I think we're pretty much have worked through our agenda.
All right. Then barring any other conversation, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Night.
Bye-bye.